With the skyline of downtown Detroit providing the backdrop, we welcome you to Belle, the scene today of the third round of the 1993 SCCA Trans Am Tour, the Motor City 100. Hello, I'm Gary Gerald. And even though it's only the third stop on the championship trail this year, the drivers to a man say this is their Super Bowl of the season because they're competing in the hometown of all the manufacturers. Joining us today on the broadcast booth, the man who's won this race in the past, a former Trans Am champion, veteran driver Scott Pruitt. Is there more pressure because they have to run in front of the manufacturers and their reps here in Detroit?
There certainly is, Gary. In fact, as Gary said, this is the Super Bowl. This is the premier race of the Trans Am Tour. We're right in the backyard of Dodge, Chevrolet, and Ford. And believe me, as far as the driver's concerned, a lot of pressure. As far as the team's concerned, a lot of pressure. But also for those drivers who want to make their way up to be involved with a factory-backed effort, they're going to be really trying to show their stuff here this weekend.
And already we've seen 6 men break the existing track record on Belle, and the fastest the lot on the pole, defending series champion Jack Baldwin. Earlier, he had a chance to talk with the third member of our broadcast crew, Chris McClure.
A year ago, leading 6 laps from the end, Jack Baldwin had a tire go down, and Detroit denied you. You went on to the championship, but I wonder, does this place owe you one?
Well, I like to think it owes me one. I still think about that race last year, and when Detroit gets away from you, it's one of those things you never forget. But hopefully we can redeem ourselves today and make it right.
So Jack Baldwin looking for redemption after frustration a year ago. The field is now rolling. That conversation came just minutes ago. He's on the pole. Bobby Archer's alongside in the Dodge. In the second row, Scott Sharp, the only man who's won at Detroit twice, who's in the field. Tommy Archer won it a year ago. In row 3, the Fords driven by Dorsey Schroeder and Wayne Akers. In row number 4, Randy Ruhlman and Ron Fellows, who's off to a great start, leading the points with victories in the first 2 events this year. And rounding out the top 10, George Robinson and Don Sack. Further through this 35-car field, an opportunity to take a look at how they get set for the green flag. Greg Pickett had to change an engine, and so he went from 5th to 6th row. On the starting grid, he starts 11th. On down through the field, the one lady driver in this event, Deborah Gregg, a Trans Am veteran, starts in the 10th row in the 19th position. And Walter Payton, the former NFL star, in row 11, he starts outside. A 35-car field getting ready for 100 miles of action in the Trans Am Super Bowl at Belle. James Moyer rounding out the field, and now everybody beginning to line up behind the safety car as they'll head out of turn 14 in the front straightaway. And we're about to get a green flag. The field beautifully aligned. Baldwin sets the pace. Archer alongside, looking for green as they thunder down the front straightaway by us. The green flag is out, and we are racing on the streets of Belle. Baldwin from the pole has the initial jump, and we've got a problem in the middle of the pack. And look at this traffic jam right underneath us here. Randy Ruhlman in car 5, pointing the wrong way, and it's gridlock here on Belle on the start of this race.
We saw, we talked a little earlier how tight this track is, and we can see right here, a little problem in turn 1 and virtual pack up. There's no movement whatsoever. There goes one car. There's definitely going to be a red flag, and they're going to have to restart, bring them all back. This is just a major havoc in turn 1.
Jack Baldwin, of course, getting the word now on the radio, I'm sure, after he had sprinted out to a comfortable early lead, protecting the pole position, but it all goes for naught as we had melee break loose back at mid-pack, and the red flag is now displayed. We'll come back for a restart at Belle. Today's coverage of the Motor City 100 is brought to you by the new Chevy Camaro. What else would you expect from the country that invented rock and roll? And by Budweiser. Fresh, pure, natural. Proud to be your... Back at Belle, we had a problem on the initial attempt to start this race. The front of the field got away cleanly, but at mid-pack, in about the 4th or 5th row, all heck broke loose, Scott.
It certainly did. You can see everything pretty smooth here, and all of a sudden, right out of nowhere, it looked like Randy Ruhlman actually got tagged from behind, and then, as you can see here, just a total backup. Actually, gridlock, as a matter of fact.
We ended up with 8 or 9 cars being damaged in this particular incident. It was at mid-pack. Ruhlman got knocked around, and then you can see everybody having to jump hard on the brakes, and there was a lot of rear-end contact made that resulted in damage to numerous cars. In the pits, Walter Payton's car was one of those that got severely damaged, both front and rear, and you can see the crew working diligently trying to get him back out for a restart. So the field has now regrouped. Again, Baldwin to set the pace. He's inside in the front row. We'll see if they can safely make it through the first couple of corners this time as they begin to accelerate and look for a green flag. We have the green for the second time at Belle Isle, and once again, it's Baldwin who makes the move. And now look at Scott Sharp challenging. Archer on the outside apparently has hung on for second, and back at mid-pack, everybody safely making it through the start of the race. So we're much better off the second time around. And Jack Baldwin likes his position. He's now on top. Archer runs second. Scott Sharp, the teammate to Baldwin, has taken over the third position. Everybody now breathes a little bit easier, Scott, and they try to get into a race routine.
They certainly do. And as you can see here, this track is very, very tight. It's very tough to pass on. In fact, we were looking at some of the data from the IndyCar earlier today, and you're virtually turning all the time. There's virtually just very little bit of straight.
14 turns on this 2.1-mile circuit. It is smooth. They're not 90-degree corners that you frequently find on many temporary street circuits, but it's tough to pass. And in trouble, car number 16, John Gooding, getting up alongside the Armco, limping along now. And it looks like maybe his afternoon is going to be over very, very early as he now pulls it off the course. The Mustang of John Gooding, car number 16. He survived the restart after the melee and the initial attempt, but he finds grief on the opening lap. Baldwin on the front straightaway. Archer running second. That's Tommy Archer in the number 9 car. His brother Bobby runs in fourth.
As we see right now, great shot looking back from Jack Baldwin's car. Coming down the front straight, getting ready to go in turn 1, just past start-finish line right here.
Really gives you a terrific feel of the circuit looking from the rear.
He'd probably like to see that camera at times, watching what Archer's up to behind him. What's going on right now is the fact that it's 80 degrees, it's a very tight track, it's very tough on tires, primarily tires. We talked to a few guys before the race, a number of different combinations going on from hard to soft, and we're just going to have to wait and see who made the right choice.
Tire management, always one of the critical issues in Trans Am racing. The yellow flag being displayed on that particular corner, that may have been where Gooding had to limp off the circuit just a few moments ago. So some caution being displayed there as we look at Scott Sharp. As we mentioned, a 2-time winner in Detroit. He knows what it's like, the prestige that accompanies a Trans Am victory, because the first victory in his Trans Am career came on the streets of downtown Detroit prior to the switch of venues to Belle Isle. And he now puts some real pressure on Archer.
He certainly does. You can see here, he's virtually all over Bobby Archer here. Archer, as you can see, trying to protect his line somewhat, not wanting to let Scott Sharp really get up inside of him. And this is a track where you can do that. It's very difficult to pass, and if you're trying to get by somebody or trying to hold somebody off, you can virtually just run a little wider line than what you're used to.
We go on board now with Archer. This is Tommy Archer in the number 3 car. Actually, I think I had the Archers confused a few moments ago. He runs in 4th place. Bobby Archer in the other Dodge, red Dodge, runs in 2nd place. So you've got Archer 2nd and 4th. They've had a frustrating start to this Trans Am season in Long Beach and in Atlanta. And right now they're hoping to get things sorted out and come up with a much stronger showing, because they were strong here a year ago in their Trans Am debut. And Tommy, of course, won the race, the initial venue here at Belle Isle.
This is an interesting race going on here between the Fords, Dorsey, Schroeder. What's going on here is virtually their teammates. What we're seeing some good hard racing right now. But Ron Fellows, he's looking for points. Dorsey's out there looking for the win, but secondly is trying to help him get the points, trying to help him with the Manufacturers Championship as well as the Drivers Championship.
Let's go to the pits now, and we'll check in with Chris McClure with Tom Gloy. Chris?
Tom Gloy, you a moment ago talked with some SCCA folks about perhaps refueling because they stopped it. They said no. I think you're concerned.
Well, I've always got concerned. You know, these are limited fuel tank capacity car, and any time that you add laps to a race, you risk the cars running out of fuel. And I don't think that's what this is all about. I think they had the option of counting the lap, making it a race, not a fuel economy run.
We've got another car in trouble, facing the wrong way against the traffic. Everybody sorting by all right. Couldn't get an identification on who that was, but let's look back now on replay and maybe we can pick this up. The squeeze is on. And it's Courtney Smith in the 0 car and the 7 car driven by R.J. Valentine who got together. Smith continues in the right direction. Valentine and the blue and white number 7 points against the traffic.
Talked about it, very difficult to get by here, and it's that same situation. We just saw it.
So we'll take a look at how it sorts out here in the early laps at Belle Isle as we check the leaderboard. Jack Baldwin from the pole on top. Archer, Sharp, Tommy Archer, and Wayne Akers complete your top 5. Once again, we've got a problem on course at Belle Isle. This time we see the 83 car. Max Lagarde, an Illinois driver, in his first start this year in Trans Am competition, and things have stacked up as the drivers now try to get resorted out and restarted. Lagarde in 83 will try to get turned around in the right direction. Nobody coming at him at the moment. He looks for reverse, finds it. Now the field comes, and this could get interesting real quickly.
It certainly does. Fortunately, he was able to get the car out of the way quick enough where he wasn't a factor, but if you get up there in that set of circumstances, it's quite dangerous.
Let's take a look once again now and see what happens. 83 is Lagarde. He pinches in. Barkaloo in 77 is the victim. He gets pinched. You can see the initial bodywork damage, and that's what stacks up traffic here on the race circuit.
Battle of the Fords going on right here. We talked a little bit about Wayne Akers. He's one of those teams who would like to come up and be a full factory effort from Ford. So he has something to prove here this weekend.
This is his first start of the year, and he's been very impressive here in the early going. He is in that light-colored number 21 car that is right behind the red Dodge driven by Tommy Archer. Now sorting their way through a bit of traffic. The lapping process is already underway on a very twisty and very demanding tight circuit on Belle Isle. And of course, Scott, the thing that makes it doubly troublesome is that you've got concrete on either side, and there's really no place to really catch your breath.
There isn't at all. In fact, one thing we're noticing about this track is that with the asphalt they put down here, it's very slippery. So it's really tough to get that grip you'd really want. So what happens is you actually just get one groove on the inside. If you get out of that groove, the track itself is very slippery. You'll slide right out of line. So that even makes it tougher when you're trying to get by people.
Wayne Akers trying to find room as he works with that traffic. Akers is one driver in a Weaver chassis. In fact, the Weaver chassis that he is driving was the highest qualifier on today's starting grid. So Akers, who was there in the third row alongside Dorsey Schroeder, doing a fine job accounting for himself here with an independent effort against some of the factory-sponsored teams. We talked about the pressure in Detroit, and they're feeling it right now.
Dorsey here having a little problem getting threading his way through traffic. You're seeing Wayne actually being able to slip away, use some of this lap traffic to get himself out in front a little ways, and he's actually getting himself quite a bit of breathing room.
Dorsey Schroeder is in the black number 12, now filling the center of the screen. Ron Fellows, the winner of the first 2 events this year in the blue Mustang number 4, is right off the back bumper.
Both these cars are sponsored by 80 Yard. I had a chance to work with those fellows a few years ago. Bob McGraw and his wife Helen, great people to work for.
Yeah, they've enjoyed terrific success thus far this season, and Tom Bloy has been a very happy man. But you heard his concern about fuel earlier. Right now, his concern is how am I going to get these 2 cars up front to challenge where Jack Baldwin is still the race leader.
There may be a situation before too long where Tom might actually call Dorsey and say, hey, let Ron go by, let him see if he can go out and chase a little harder.
Scott Sharp, we got a glimpse of him in that bright yellow Camaro running third. We're back with the leader. This is that roof cam looking backwards off Jack Baldwin's Hot Wheels car. Here's a problem. Deborah Gregg, car number 2, the turbo blue Camaro, is parked. And look at all the trail of some kind of fluid. Apparently it looks like she may well have cooked an engine. We've got a major problem. Somebody deep into the tire barrier. We've got a car that is totally back in amongst the tires there. We can't tell who it is at this point. It looks like it's one of the Dodges. There are 4 red Dodges that look very much the same. This is the 17 car driven by Bill Saunders out of Dallas, Texas, and the tires went flying as he planted the nose of the car in there. But look at this. He backs it out, and the tires have done the job, and it looks like he's going to be able to limp on around the circuit. That was a big-time hit there as Bill Sanders overcooked a corner, and he finds himself now with damage to the front end. It looks like he'll be headed for pit road.
Trying to limp it back to the pits. I'm not sure. There's a lot of damage up front. They might be able to get it fixed and get back out racing.
Now we go back on board looking at this battle of traffic. This is from the backside of Archer, and here comes pressure now. This is, I think, Ron Fellows, who just made a move on Akers.
A good move right at the end of, right into turn 1, actually. Got right up underneath him, managed to work his way by. Again, he was able to get by Dorsey Schroeder. as well as now Wayne Akers, so he's going to be moving himself up.
Fellows was disappointed because he had qualified back in the 3rd row, and in the final practice session earlier today, he was the fastest man on the circuit here at Belle Isle. And now, after playing a patient waiting game, he's starting flexing a little bit of his muscle. Jerry Clinton in the 14 car loses a lap now as the leaders string on by. That's still Tommy Archer, the defending Belle Isle champion, running in that red Dodge just ahead of Ron Fellows. But Fellows is clearly the man on the charge. And here's another one of the Dodges. This is Mitch Wright, who's also found a tire barrier. The 38-year-old driver out of Duluth, Minnesota, having the same fate that was met by Bill Saunders, his teammate, just moments ago.
You wonder if there's potentially something happening with the cars, or maybe either having some sort of problem with them, brakes, perhaps, or maybe just some sort of driver error.
Well, both of the Dodge driver teammates having problems. Will be going to a commercial break. Still on top, Jack Baldwin, the leader. Ron Fellows, however. Ron Fellows is suddenly on pit road at Belle Isle. After he'd moved up to the top 5, he has moved off the course and quickly into the pits. The man who won the opening race this year at Long Beach followed it with a victory in Atlanta, finding difficulties now, and this the 3rd event of the season at Belle Isle. And they're addressing their attention to the right front side of the car. What a very tough break for Fellows. And now here's another problem out here on the race circuit. Bartelt in the 92 car is one of those in trouble, and I believe the other may be Bill Gray in the 89 car. They sort themselves out of position as the rest of the field tries to get through. There's Gray in the 89 car trying to get turned around.
You can see a lot of fluid on the track. It looks like somebody dumped some down, and potentially that's what caused all the problems right here.
So problems on the circuit at Belle Isle, and we have several drivers limping around in various fashion now. We've had men in the tire barriers, then the spin. We take a look here at the replay, and you can see Bartelt in the colorful 92. And here comes one of those Dodges just squeaking by in a very narrow alley. Well, the concrete takes its toll, and we've got the problems in the pits being addressed here. And the Fellows crew, let's go to Chris McClure.
Working on the brakes on the right front of the car. They had to take the hood off to do that. They bled some brake fluid. The tire very, very hot, and the brake system very, very hot. Just trying to give him more grip with the brakes. Now they've got the repair done. They hope it's right, and off he goes. But he's been here about a minute and a half.
Well, obviously, that is probably going to cost him any opportunity to win 3 in a row. But what he's worried about now is protecting that points lead. Coming into this event after the first 2 races, a 12-point lead over Scott Sharp.
Archer's really been able to keep the pressure on Jack quite a bit this week. Throughout the whole qualifying session, now into the race, we're seeing these are the real 2 dominant cars, actually 3 dominant cars with Scott Sharp behind him. But Bobby and Jack are really setting the pace here and actually keeping the pressure on each other.
Well, a variety of problems early. We had that initial restart battle that cost several positions to several drivers. Let's check back in the pits once again with Chris McClure.
Well, an enterprising man named Ed Dellis has come up with a new steering wheel idea. It's a personalized steering wheel with a grip on it. A molded thermoplastic is placed on the wheel. It's heated up, and the driver, in this case Jack Baldwin, is putting his handprint on it. And that makes a better grip, they believe, and it's being used in a lot of racing series across the country by professional and amateur racers as well. This is an example of the wheel. There you can see the grip. This would be a road course wheel where you hold it with the right hand and get off the wheel on this side to shift. Now, Baldwin uses it. Bobby Archer has one in his car for this event. And Emerson Fittipaldi had one of these fashioned for the Speedway. He was using one when he won the Indianapolis 500.
Onto the front straightaway, you see Greg Pickett in number 6. He's not been a factor today, but this battle between Dorsey, Schroeder, and Akers continues, and it looks like Schroeder gets the best of it, and Akers almost ate some concrete right there.
He got a little far out there. Looks like they got into lap traffic. Dorsey Schroeder got underneath Wayne Akers, and actually Wayne was a little wide. We talked about the groove being on the inside, got out there, was a little dirty, and almost lost it.
So now, Dorsey Schroeder has been able to regain a position that he lost earlier. Let's take another look as they came sweeping through that turn. Hanging that back end out, he was just inches away from doing damage against the concrete.
what you call using the berm.
Indeed. Meanwhile, your leader, Jack Baldwin, getting a real grip on that steering wheel. One of the nice things about that personalized grip is you fuse your fingers to the wheel, Scott. I'm told that it takes some of the pressure off the forearms. It relaxes the arms. The fatigue factor not nearly as great over the course of a long race. But right now, Jack Baldwin, we got his mirrors full of Mr. Archer. Bobby Archer at car number 9, really applying some pressure now. Maybe the first time that he's applied this much pressure in this competition.
It certainly is. Maybe some of that steering wheel pressure will help take a little bit of pressure off Archer there. I don't know. He's leaning on him really hard here. Looks like Archer's car is a little bit better under braking. We can watch from the camera view right here, going down in turn 1. Now into turn 2. Little jog to the right here, turn 3. And we can watch Archer. Whoa, Jack's actually spun.
Baldwin spinning around. We were watching out the back when suddenly he lost control. The man who had a race problem here a year ago that cost him a potential victory, now at mid-race, trying to fire it up and get it restarted. We see flame coming out from the exhaust on the side. Now he gets that motor back to life. He'll try to slide it back in the right direction. And we have a brand new leader as Bobby Archer, who was applying the pressure, is now on top. And we'll have to find out how far Jack Baldwin has slid back. That was Akers, I think, who just went by him. So Baldwin may be as far back as 7th position.
Oh, he actually gets pinched here.
The replay shows us indeed he did get pinched in traffic. And suddenly, Archer, the beneficiary, has the lead, and Baldwin has got a lot of work to try to make up ground if, in fact, his car has not been damaged.
You see, we're working on some traffic here, some lapping traffic. Gets up underneath him, doesn't see him, pinches Jack off, forces him to spin. Archer's right on top of it, managed to stay out of the melee, takes the lead, and unfortunately Jack Baldwin is sitting there probably back in 4th position right now.
So Jack Baldwin will try to regroup and try to work his way back into the competition after leading throughout the early going. He's now back several positions. So let's reset the field for you now. You can see that Baldwin has slipped back to 5th place. It wasn't quite as bad as we thought it might have been, but still disastrous for Jack Baldwin, who led much of the early going. Dorsey Schroeder ahead of him. As we check through the top 10, you'll see Akers, Robinson, Stevens, Perner, and DeHaan. You're getting the view here from Tommy Archer's number 3 car that is currently in 3rd place. He's the man who won here at Belle Isle last year. And right now, he's got some ground to make up if he wants to get up there and challenge Scott Sharp and his brother Bobby, who are in front of him. Let's go back now and take one more look at that problem that befell Jack Baldwin as we were watching out the rear side of his car when he got in trouble. Here comes the pressure from Archer. What we don't see is the traffic that Baldwin had to contend with.
We certainly don't. Here he comes, exiting turn 2, looking up to go underneath the lap car. Gets pinched off, and here, spins it, backs into the guardrail.
We're watching Dorsey Schroeder now on the 12 cars. He works the traffic. He is currently in 4th place. He's got one more car in front of him before he has a chance to challenge the 3rd place runner, that of Tommy Archer. So Dorsey Schroeder is making up some ground now. His teammate Ron Fellows had that earlier problem that put him in the pits. So right now, the pressure goes on Dorsey's shoulders. But he can handle that pressure, Scott, as a former Trans Am Series champion. You know his racing game very well.
He certainly does. The thing that we're going to start seeing now is who's been conserving their tires and brakes and who hasn't. Lap traffic's been a major problem, but if you've been leaning on your tires too hard, it's really going to start coming into effect just about now.
Well, you can see him have to tap the brakes there as he got around, I believe, R.J. Valentine very cleanly, but all kinds of traffic. And we've got a lot of different drivers at a lot of different speeds. You can see the damage on some of the cars from a variety of incidents already this afternoon on the streets of Belle Isle. That's Greg Pickett, who's right now in front of Dorsey Schroeder. The number 6 car driven by Pickett. There is Schroeder. Pickett was involved in that earlier melee that put him a few laps back, so he has not been a factor in this one. But he's still a veteran driver, and he might be a tough guy to pass.
He's always a tough guy to pass. I've learned some valuable lessons from Greg Pickett over the years running together, and he doesn't make it easy.
We remember last year that Greg Pickett put on quite a show because he spun on the opening lap, went to the back of the field, and came up and finished 2nd. But right now, Schroeder has found the line. He gets by Pickett, so he puts another car behind him, and he closes ground now on the third place running Tommy Archer. So this could be very interesting here now as we have Archer in front of Dorsey Schroeder.
Another good shot looking back.
That's from Tommy Archer's car. Could be that one of the other Dodge team cars is still in between he and Schroeder. That appears to be the case. Here's a problem now for Akers limping in the 21 car. He is pulling it into pit road. Coming onto pit road is the number 21 Mustang driven by Wayne Akers. It made a memorable start earlier, and clearly some damage here.
Caught the left front. Caught the left front pretty hard. Looks like he may have got a little wide. And as we saw earlier, it skimmed the wall, and here's a look at him.
Yes, indeed. They were 3 wide. He came across the groove, the left front, and the concrete has claimed another victim, this time just before turn 13. So Akers' crew trying to assess the damage, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any hope of him getting back as we take another look at the incident.
Another good look, trying to get by lap traffic up the inside. Gets a little grip through here to the groove, and then it's gone. It's out there. It's dusty. There's not much grip. Once it's gone, he's just into the wall, turns up the left front corner.
So while Akers' afternoon is now complete, here's your leader, Bobby Archer on top. Scott Sharp just a few car lengths back. Tommy Archer, Dorsey Schroeder, Jack Baldwin now in the number 5 spot, followed by Robinson, Stevens, Perner, DeHaag, and Smith. Your top 10. Back at Belle Isle, I'm Gary Gerald with Scott Pruitt and Chris McClure. We're watching a race for third place. You've got Tommy Archer trying to hold off Dorsey Schroeder, and Schroeder has been closing ground. He has now got his next potential victim in his sights, and the Ford sneaking up on the Dodge. We take a look from that rear side of Archer's Dodge back at Dorsey Schroeder. Boy, hanging that back end out. You can tell it's a little loose. And here comes Dorsey Schroeder now with the challenge. He may have the room. He's made the pass. And taking over third place is Dorsey Schroeder.
We saw a little bobble by Tommy Archer. Got a little sideways. That gave enough for Dorsey to slip up the inside of him going back into that back corner.
So Dorsey Schroeder, the 1989 Trans Am Series champion, on the prowl, has taken over third place. Schroeder driving one of the Mustangs for Tom Gloy, now having to contend with more traffic.
A lot of lap traffic here.
Now let's go to the pits. We'll check in again with Chris McClure.
Wayne Akers had a smile on his face. He said that's a gambling place to pass as he viewed the Schroeder pass, and I think that's where you got in trouble out there in the turn 13, hard right-hander.
Yeah, it was a back marker I was trying to get by to stay close to Jack Baldwin, and he went deeper than I thought he would, and I overcommitted, and coming out, there was no way I could make the turn. The front's locked up.
Is the issue going to be tires and brakes as usual for Detroit?
I don't know if the brakes are too bad, although they were starting to fade a little bit, but tires for sure. And there's a lot of oil and water on the surface from various encounters.
So a smile on the face of Akers, even though his day is complete, as we watch Jack Baldwin trying to sneak up on some traffic now. He has Greg Pickett in front of him, and then he has in his sights the 4th place car driven by Tommy Archer. So Jack Baldwin, after that difficulty in traffic when he got pinched into the wall with the spin, trying to work his way back up. You see Schroeder in number 12, Archer in number 3, Pickett down laps, and here is Baldwin in car number 1, moving now to that 13th turn where they slide into the right-hander. A quick little spurt on the throttle, and then they come to turn 14, and the right-hander again puts them on the front straightaway.
Pickett's been running very strong today. We've seen him in this position just a little bit ago. Let Dorsey go by, and then let Archer go by. And now he's in a situation where Jack's wanting to get by, but Pickett actually has enough speed to keep him behind, so it'll be interesting to see what Greg's going to do.
Schroeder was able to get by and pick up a couple of spots eventually, and it didn't take too long. Right now, Baldwin has got that same situation, and here is another car parked up against the concrete. Looks like the tail end of a Corvette. In the color scheme, it might be Moyer of the 96 car, although we could be premature in that respect. And we can see that there is some bodywork damage on the left side.
The same place where Wake Akers got into it. Same wall, coming probably just a little bit too deep in the turn. A little too hot, came off and slipped right into the wall.
Here now is Baldwin. He has squeezed by Greg Pickett, so he now has a chance to move up. He didn't gain a position, but he did get by a tough man to pass in the veteran there of Pickett. So Jack Baldwin may also get an advantage because we understand the yellow flag may be coming out. That car of Jim Moyer's that was parked alongside the wall was right in the line, and they may have to go yellow to free up the race course. And if that happens, that'll tighten everybody up, and we'll have ourselves a shootout here at Belle Isle. We're still waiting to see if, in fact, that will be the case. And now the yellow is being displayed, a full course yellow. And so we'll be back, and we are going to have ourselves a real Trans Am shootout in the Super Bowl of Trans Am racing, the Motor City 100. Well, back at Belle Isle, after the yellow flag, all of the leaders have now been tightly bunched. We have 8 men on the lead lap. They are now nose to tail. There's also a potential problem for the leader of the race, Bobby Archer. For that report, let's quickly go to the pits and Chris McClure.
Well, Bobby Archer has been reporting from the car during this yellow and chatting with brother Mike Archer about the heat. He's having a very difficult time in the car. He says the cool suit is working just fine, but it's simply so hot in there, he has been getting dizzy. So perhaps that's an issue that will play out in the sprint. Meantime, the fuel situation a little up in the air depending on who you talk to. Early on, we heard Tom Gloy express some concern. We heard a report that there wasn't a problem from Buzz McCall. They have the Camaros with Jack Baldwin and Scott Sharp, but the Dodge boys were very worried. They said before the extra laps, the extra pace lap and race lap at the beginning, that they had it figured for less than 1 mile worth of fuel reserve at the end. So the yellow may have saved their bacon if Bobby can handle the heat.
The field on the front straightaway now as we get ready to anticipate the green. The tempo picks up. We've got a restart. Keep in mind all the leaders now nose to tail, and very quickly Bobby Archer, dizzy or not, on that throttle hard, and he jumps out leading. Scott Sharp coming through in the number 3 position is Dorsey Schroeder in car number 12. They try to open up a little bit of distance, and now pressure from Schroeder on the outside trying to make a move. Can he get through? He's made the pass. Dorsey Schroeder has moved into 2nd place. Sharp running 3rd. Jack Baldwin also picked up a position, got by Tommy Archer. So Baldwin is now 4th. And we talked about a shootout, Scott. We got one. Here's Dorsey Schroeder now taking the lead. How about this? Dorsey Schroeder, who was well back in the early stages of the race, suddenly, for the first time, the new leader and pulling away.
He certainly is, and you can look very dominant here as well. I mean, he's just pulling away from everybody.
Driving a Riley and Scott chassis for Tom Gloy. Dorsey Schroeder, the veteran, out of Baldwin, Missouri. 7 wins in his career in the Trans Am circuit, and right now I'm sure there is an ear-to-ear grin on that face because he is rapidly pulling away from any and all challengers.
A lot of pressure here. Scott Sharp on Archer and Baldwin right behind them, so it's a very tough battle. We're seeing Scott Sharp up the inside. Looks like he may have it.
Well, indeed, Chris McClure talking about the heat problems for Archer, and Bobby now back in 3rd place, and Tommy also with his hands full. A lot of traffic bunched up behind that group. One of the cars sideways coming onto the front straightaway, but holding on to the position is Archer. Now Baldwin tries to make a run on him, and that blue and yellow Hot Wheels number 1.
Looks like there's a little bit of smoke coming out of the back of that car as well. Bobby Archer may start having a little bit of problem. You see a lot of oil on the back of the car as well as some smoke, so he may be potentially having some problems.
Watching them sort their way through, trying to pick up the positions. This is back now, a few positions from the leader. Out on top, Dorsey Schroeder, Scott Sharp is 2nd. This is a race now for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Archer gets sideways, and Baldwin picks up another spot. Boy, Bobby Archer is really having a problem. He radioed the crew that he wasn't feeling that well, that the heat was taking a toll, and he's been all over the racetrack. Here's a spin. Jim Stevens in 65 goes around now.
Jim Stevens was actually having a good race. He was on the lead lap as well at the time. Was making his way up. Looks like he was in 3rd. Have a little problem getting back on track.
Slammed into the concrete as he went to spin it around. He was in 6th place on the restart, and now you can see bodywork rubbing on one of the right rear tires. Well, a tough break for Stevens. We've got the onboard camera again with Archer. We've now had 3 different manufacturers lead this race. Ford has been there, or is there now. We had Chevy for a while. We had Dodge. So all the manufacturers getting their moment of glory. But, of course, they want a checkered flag. They want to be in victory lane.
A little bit of lap traffic here. The Royal Oak car sitting right in front of him, trying to work his way by. And then in front of him, Robinson.
The Royal Oak car driven by Jeff Perner out of Missouri, who's best this year, 29th in both of the early races. He had tough luck at Long Beach and at Atlanta, and he has been among the top 10, currently in the number 8 spot. He's in that 07 car right in front now of Archer.
Looks like the Archers had a little tough time getting their cars going again. Dorsey very handily got by and just took the lead away. And it looks like their cars were actually quite slow coming off the turns. I'm not sure if they were having a tire problem or maybe some other sort of problem.
The 74 car driven by George Robinson trying to hold off Perner. That is a battle for position. Robinson of the 74 car is listed as 5th. Perner right behind him was battling for a spot. So we keep an eye on those two. Archer now behind him. That is Tommy Archer in the number 3 car. Heavy smoke being reported off of Bobby Archer's number 9 car. Take a look at Robinson once again. They had to rebuild the whole front end of this race car after a big-time crash in the last race in Atlanta. And apparently all of that hard work has paid off.
It certainly has. It looks like he maybe had a little bit of front body damage on the left corner, but for the most part, still fairly well intact.
Keeping an eye on the traffic. We're getting a report that the safety car may be coming back on track once again, which if that's the case, Dorsey Schroeder's big lead may soon evaporate. There is a problem on course. And we are going to get a full yellow. There it's being displayed at the starter stand for the second time. A full course yellow that is going to regroup the field. Currently, Schroeder 4.5 seconds on top. Back at Belle Isle, the reason for the yellow flag, the car of number 65, young Jim Stevens, a 23-year-old recent graduate of Western Michigan University, who ended up in the tire barrier and then also had to have some emergency treatment. Not seriously injured, but the safety attendants checking in on him. And Scott, let's take a look here.
Here Jim Stevens was racing for position at the time. Gets in a little too deep, spins the car. Archer does a great job getting by him.
Tommy Archer with the evasive action. The yellow flag out as a result of the incident, and that will regroup the field as we take one more look.
Here racing for position, trying to move his way up into 4th. Comes up. Makes a great move here. Gets in himself in just a little too deep. Spins the car.
So the field has been realigned. Dorsey Schroeder's 4.5 second lead is history. The green flag is back out and the sprint is on once again. 5 laps to go. Scott Sharp in that bright yellow Camaro right off the backside of Schroeder. Now after Schroeder got the lead, he was able to pull away. This time Sharp sticking right off that back bumper, just 1 car length away as he makes his challenge. Baldwin races by in 3rd position. In the 4th spot is Bobby Archer. George Robinson rounds out the top 5. We have 7 cars on the lead lap.
We're seeing Dorsey Schroeder actually trying to protect his position. He doesn't want Scott Sharp to let him get up inside of him. Potentially right here, he could have got up underneath him, right on his bumper. Coming onto the back straight, nose to tail. Dorsey, Scott Sharp.
Sharp trying to make a run on him now to see if he can find position and perhaps outbrake him. Now you see those taillights flash as they hit the brakes.
Taking a look up underneath them there. Now this is a flat-out sprint race to the end. We only have a few laps left, and they're going hard at it. This is for the championship and for the manufacturers.
And here comes the challenge. Once again, he took a good look on the inside. Couldn't squeeze it off. But I am intrigued, Scott Pruitt, as to why Dorsey Schroeder was able to open up the big lead moments ago, and now he's unable to do so.
We got a good look behind Scott Sharp, Jack Baldwin.
Solidly in 3rd. If in fact anything happens to those top 2, Baldwin could get back to the lead. Remember, he led the early stages of this event, fell back to 5th in the incident in traffic, and now has worked his way forward. And look at Sharp just all over the backside of Dorsey Schroeder.
Dorsey hands full right now with Scott Sharp all over him. Looking to the left, looking to the right.
Schroeder, who last won at Mosport in Canada 3 years ago in 1990, one of 7 career wins, trying to get get a victory here in the Super Bowl of Trans Am competition, the Motor City 100. Right now, this one is very much up for grabs because Baldwin has closed in third. Archer is a solid fourth, and any of them could have a shot at it here in these final laps.
We're seeing a hard charge. Ford versus Chevrolet. Dorsey, Scott Sharp, Jack Baldwin.
They are all right there. It's a Ford that has the lead. It's a Chevy running second and third, and a Dodge races fourth. We mentioned earlier that each of the manufacturer brands has had the lead at one point or another this afternoon, but it's the Ford Mustang on top at the moment for Tom Lloyd. Dorsey Schroeder trying to protect a very precarious lead as he moves toward turn 13. We've seen a lot of incidents in 13 and 14 today. Here's the look again by Scott Sharp.
Takes a look up the inside, can't quite get it done. Dorsey really having his hands full with Scott Sharp right now, really trying to protect his line. Tires are pretty wore out, brakes are pretty wore out, but they're really going for it. Cars are, as you see, real sideways. Just showing you, I mean, they are down to the end of the tires, down to the end of the brakes, getting all they got.
And we're down to the final 3 laps. Nose-to-tail racing on the streets of Belle Isle. And again, Sharp with a slightly different line as he takes a look. First on one side, then on the other. But he can't find the room to make the pass. And Jack Baldwin has now tightened it up another notch as Baldwin is right there. They are teammates that are running second and third, and now the anxious crew standing down here on the pit wall. Tom Gloy was on the left in the blue baseball cap, keeping a close eye on Dorsey Schroeder, who has the lead for the moment. Will he still be in the lead the next time they come by Gloy's position? When they come by next time, it'll be just 2 laps to go.
Bobby Archer also right behind Jack Baldwin, so he's in contention as well. All these cars, nose to tail.
We should also point out that even though he's not on the lead lap, Ron Fellows, the season points leader who had that incident early and spent a considerable amount of time in the pits, is back in the top 10 and, in fact, is running in 8th place. But right now, all attention is focused on these 4 at the front. This is the girlfriend of Dorsey Schroeder. Some anxious moments now as she takes a look at times, hollers encouragement as they come across that stripe one more time. We're down to the final 2 laps. It's still Dorsey Schroeder in the Ford number 12. Scott Sharp in the Camaro number 33 running second.
Takes a look. Going to have some lap traffic coming to contention here in a minute.
But we have seen a variety of incidents already today as they've had to deal with the concrete and the traffic. It could be a factor on the final lap and a half. Less than 2 laps to go. Dorsey Schroeder, the 1989 Trans Am champion, trying to get the job done in the Motor City 100.
Scott Sharp, Jack Baldwin, Tommy Archer. Scott
Sharp, of course, as we mentioned early, has won this race 2 times. The only man in the field who's been able to do so. We've had a variety of winners over the years here, and look at this, a bit of traffic, but the traffic gets out of the way, and the 4 front runners slide through cleanly.
What a better way to finish this race off. This kind of a shootout for the finish.
Now they come to turn 12. They'll head for the final 2 turns, and when they come off of 14, we'll have the white flag. Somebody getting out of shape back in the pack that time, but was able to keep it going. It may have been Walter Payton who got back out in his Mustang, the 34 car. Now onto the front straightaway. The white flag will be unfurled this time by, and here they are coming right straight at us. The 4 leaders, paced by Dorsey Schroeder. They cheer them on for a final time as the anxious crews await on the pit wall. 2.1 miles to go. Can Schroeder hang on for an 8th career victory and his first since 1990? Scott Sharp looking for the victory right behind him and a chance to put some pressure on season points leader Ron Fellows. And Jack Baldwin, the defending series champion, solidly in contention in 3rd. It looks like a 3-car battle. Archer has slipped back just a couple of spaces in the 4th position. Less than a lap to go.
Dorsey's making his car as wide as he can right now. Scott Sharp right up behind him, taking a look to a little bit to the right there.
Less than a half second separating the top 2. The pressure again from Sharp. Schroeder trying to hang on. Here's Sharp. He's running out of time and he's running out of options. We've seen challenges made as they come out of this corner around the casino and the Scott Fountain. Moving to turn 12. This may be the last opportunity for Scott Sharp to challenge.
This will be the last opportunity. If he can get enough speed off this turn up inside of him, just doesn't look like he can get it done.
Dorsey Schroeder hanging on. He's got the Tom Gloy Mustang in the lead, and he may be stretching it by a car length. Here's turn 14, the final opportunity. And onto the front straightaway, and there is traffic in front. Here's Schroeder now. Will he get to the checkered in car number 12? Looking for the checkered. He's got the victory. Sharp has to settle for second. Third place to Baldwin. Archer finishes fourth. George Robinson is fifth. So he withstood the pressure coming down to the checkers to get the victory in the Super Bowl of Trans Am competition. Dorsey Schroeder on the cool-off lap. We'll meet him in victory lane in a moment. Today's coverage of the Motor City 100 from Belle Isle has been brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. So a Ford is in victory lane. Dorsey Schroeder is now with Chris McClure.
Dorsey Schroeder, this morning after the final round of qualifying, you got out of the car happy as a lark. You really hooked it up today.
I didn't do it. Mechanics did it. These guys, I wrecked this car twice yesterday, real bad. They worked till 3 o'clock in the morning and gave me the best car here. Wow, what a day. I haven't won a race in a long time.
Were you having any trouble with the car in the last couple of laps? Kind of a wide line. You got wide anyway.
I wasn't going to give this away if I didn't have to. Scott was running awful hard on me. I was really loose. I wasn't going to let this slip away. Not with 3 to go, 4 to go. No way. It was a good race. I got bumped one little time, and boy, we ran hard. You know, Scott drove real clean. I knew I could trust him to do that. So my hats off to him. He's a good former champion, and there's a lot of fun. This is the best racing there is right now.
Dorsey Schroeder started fifth. Today he enjoys his 8th career Trans Am victory, the first Ford win at Detroit since Scott Pruitt in 1987. We check out the final standings. Scott Sharp in second, Baldwin, Bobby Archer, George Robinson in the top 5. Jeff Perner ends up being the hard charger and the rising star with his best career finish in 7th place. As for the season championship point standings, my, have things tightened up. Fellows now by just 3 over Scott Sharp. Baldwin in the number 3 spot. For Chris McClure, for Scott Pruitt, I'm Gary Gerald. We hope you've enjoyed Trans Am competition from Belle Isle as we congratulate our '93 winner, Dorsey Schroeder.